Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. Joining me is Jennifer Palecki, Chief People Officer at Highspot, to discuss what Highspot is doing both internally and externally to support positive change and greater equality. Jennifer, it's great to have you with us. Welcome to Trade Talks.
Thanks so much. I'm so glad to be here today.
Let's start with a brief overview of Highspot.
Certainly. So Highspot, at its core, is a software platform that's designed to help businesses get the most from everyone at the company who interacts with prospects or customers, from marketing to sales to services. We call this revenue enablement. We do this by making sure that everyone can easily access and use marketing content and also tell them when and how the best ways to use that content are. We also have a modern training and coaching component, which delivers real-time learning, all within the same natively built platform. All of this also includes analytics, which includes and delivers insights to leaders so they can understand what's going well, what's not, and how to do things differently. We believe in our platform. We've been growing very quickly over the past 2 years, doubling every business metric, and of course our people, which is driving all of this. We're now a global business used by hundreds of companies worldwide.
Highspot is focused on creating a company culture that puts people first. Can you tell us about this mission and why it's important?
Yeah, I'd love to. And even from my decision to join this company, this is at the core foundation of everything that Highspot does. So we have what we consider three engines here: our product engine, our customer engine, and most importantly, the people engine. Neither our customer or product engine can work without this people engine. So we strive to create a workplace where people can be their true selves and do their best work. And that's what keeps the people engine fueling and going. This mission influences everything we do, from how we hire to internal support of our employees and making sure that they are feeling supported and into what matters for them from local communities and advancing their career goals. We also have a couple key anchors of our culture that are very at the core and the center of everything we do here. And the first and most important one to us is our guiding principles. And we established these at a time where we knew we were going to go into rapid growth and need to have a core and a center and a foundation that was going to give us a common language and foundation to really help us stay centered as we grow. So we have a number of guiding principles. One of the most important to us is being open and real, and that includes being transparent with our employees on how the company's doing, what we're working on, and having an open conversation around different ways that we can support each other. All of these things fuel the people engine. And again, without this people engine to help build our product, which delights our customers, all of this begins and ends with our people, and these guiding principles help keep us anchored.
One of the many challenges presented by COVID-19 is that it's harder to connect with your coworkers. People are craving that connection more than ever. So how is Highspot helping support employees during COVID-19 and keeping the team connection strong?
Gosh, what do you do during a year like 2020, aside from try to stay connected as best you can? And another one of our core guiding principles is invent the future. And we have truly had to do this as we've come through this year. When we entered this whole period back in March, there were a number of things as a company we didn't know how we were going to be able to do. And one of the biggest things is we had been a highly collaborative culture in our offices. So working virtually was not something we had a lot of practice in. But in a short amount of time, this company and our people found ways to innovate and work together and work through this. We have successfully hired throughout this entire period. This company has not slowed down. We are on a mission, and we've had to invent the future in how we've done this. The core of this is remaining connected to the whole. So again, we have the guiding principles, which I talked about earlier as one of our core anchors, as foundational language, which we all interact with. We've also have a company all hands every Friday, which is a key connection point that we all relish and connect to, is just to understand what's going on with the company on a regular basis. The other thing I'll give you though is this year has been wrought with people are doing with professional and personal challenges as we go through this. And we all come into this environment in different spaces. So the biggest and most important thing we've done is making sure that we're creating avenues for communication and being open with each other and meeting each other where we're at. So we've done a number of things also as a company to help our employees find space within this time. We've implemented a no meetings from noon to 1 policy, which gives space to care for ourselves or care for others that we may have within our households. We've also been giving a work from home stipend to help and make sure people are able to get themselves up to be comfortable and productive from home. As a company, we've also stated that we are virtual first, which means virtual is our first priority for all of our employees through the end of next June, to give, again, people the security that this option of working in an environment where you feel safe continues. All of this, though, centers on having open communication and making sure we're creating this inclusive environment that welcomes everyone to the table to have this conversation. We have to make sure that all of the virtual doors are open to this and that we're not only just planning and plotting, but listening to our employees. And we've done a number of things to make sure that we're staying in touch with folks, a number of surveys and different meetings that we have to make sure that all voices are heard.
All right, well, let's talk about that diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is top of mind, of course, in the face of racial injustice. What is Highspot doing both internally and externally to support positive change and greater equality?
Yeah, I'll use one of our core guiding principles, as I mentioned earlier, which is open and real and full transparency, is that these times have provided us with an opportunity to take a hard look at what we were doing for DE&I at Highspot and ask ourselves, are we doing enough? Are we showing up enough for our people in the best possible way in this category? And the answer that I think we came up with as a leadership is no, not yet. This has to be a journey of things that we look at, that we listen, and that we take on to do to make sure that we're able to support employees and build. You have to start from somewhere, and that's what we've done. We were already working with a number of local organizations in terms of bringing good tech talent into Highspot and supporting the community. We also had an It Starts With Conversations blog that we put out publicly to talk around some of the topics that we knew our employees were working through and support them in the broader community and at large. Over the past few months, though, we've taken a number of important actions which really start and ground this conversation around data and opinion and insight. We had a DE&I survey that we ran earlier in the summer that really provided mission critical information around how the experience of our employees throughout Highspot were showing up so that we could start to build and work through this. One of the things our leadership team knows is that we can't plan in a vacuum, and this data is really important. We've also extended our reach into the community and have begun partnering with a number of local organizations like the Technology Access Foundation and Rainier Scholars to make sure that we're supporting underrepresented communities and getting access to technology, education, employment, in particular through Highspot and what our employees can bring to light. We also provide different ways through these organizations and through Highspot to get involved in the community and make sure that our employees' interests and voices are heard as we continue on our what we consider to be this ongoing and never-ending journey of doing better in this space.
How can companies work to create positive change both internally and externally within the community?
You've heard me mention this a couple times. The number one thing that all of us can do is listen right now. We have to listen to the voices of our employees and listen to the voices that are coming in from the community at large. When we can be clear and decisive, externally voicing your opinions based on the foundation that is being provided by what you're hearing, you can really start to show and demonstrate support. An important thing to point out, though, is we can no longer believe that silent support is enough. You have to have transparency and action and be clear about the company's support for employees and making this positive stand for change of the community, and be realistic about what the company can commit to in terms of programs and resources. We also make it, and I would recommend that all companies do this in the ways that you can, and it will be different for everyone, but support equality on company channels. There are many ways to spotlight diversity and important voices. I mentioned our blog series earlier. We also have provided company matches for employee fundraisers, flexible time off policies, and to encourage our employees to volunteer. And then there is another effective route to creating positive change that can work for any size of a company.
All right, Jennifer, and to wrap up here, what do you think is the most important thing companies need to progress and be progressive?
I think the number one most important thing is to acknowledge that positive change, specifically greater racial equality, is a fundamental common good, and every business, large or small, can do something to contribute to that progress. Progress is what helps us as people and as businesses as a society. Not every company can contribute at the same level. Not all of us can go fund at a government or lobby for changes, but we all have a small part that we can play in the meaningful ways is just showing up, being present, having a voice, and ultimately listening to employees to support the work for positive change in some form.
All right, Jennifer, appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you so much.
You got it. And thanks for joining me. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.